Society told you to wake up every morning and chase your dreams. But what they never told you was that most people wake up every day still asleep. Eyes open, soul closed, moving, but not truly alive. And the moment you begin to see this, really see it, you cross a line you can never come back from. Because being self-aware in a delusional world is not enlightenment, it's exile. You start noticing how people talk endlessly but say nothing. How they chase status they don't need, in a system they don't understand, for approval from people they don't even respect. And you realize, awareness is not peace, it's pain. You feel the distance growing between you and the crowd. You can't laugh at the same empty jokes anymore. You can't celebrate illusions. You can't pretend not to see the game. And yet that's exactly what the world wants, your participation in its madness. Nietzsche once said, madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. He wasn't exaggerating. The herd will always call the thinker insane because the thinker stands outside the spell that keeps everyone else asleep. So when you start asking real questions, what am I doing here? Why do I obey? Who benefits from my distractions? The world begins to push back. You'll notice how people suddenly get uncomfortable around you, not because you're rude, but because your awareness disrupts their illusion. You've become a mirror, and they hate what they see. You see, most people don't really want freedom. They want comfort dressed as freedom. They say they want truth, but what they actually want is reassurance. That's why society rewards obedience and punishes awareness. The worker who never questions the purpose of his labor is praised. The student who never asks why but memorizes what is celebrated. The citizen who confuses safety for virtue is glorified. It's all a brilliant design, a system where control is mistaken for order and submission is marketed as happiness. Marcus Aurelius said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." And yet, look around. People are terrified to form their own opinions. They fear being wrong more than being blind. They let others think for them, speak for them, feel for them, and call it belonging. Awareness strips that illusion away. And once it does, you begin to understand. Freedom is not given, it's taken, and the price is high. You must sacrifice the comfort of fitting in. You must endure the loneliness of independence. And you must carry the burden of seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. That's the first cost of awareness, loneliness. Because truth isolates. You can't unknow it. Once you see behind the curtain, you can't go back to pretending the show is real. But here's the paradox. That same loneliness becomes your liberation. Because once you stop depending on the crowd to validate your reality, you begin to reclaim your mind. And that's the most dangerous thing a human can do. Think for themselves. George Orwell warned of this. He said, "Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4. If that is granted, all else follows. But in a delusional world, even that simple truth is rebellion. Because when you claim the right to your own perception, you break the invisible chains that hold society together, the chains of conformity, fear, and silent obedience. So the question isn't, why are people blind? It's why do they choose blindness? The answer is simple, because seeing hurts. And most people would rather live comfortably in a lie than suffer for the truth. You've probably felt it before, that invisible weight pressing down on your mind. It's not physical, it's the quiet pressure to conform, to not think too deeply, to not stand too far outside the circle, to stay comfortable, quiet, agreeable, like everyone else. That's the architecture of control. And it's brilliant because it doesn't use chains or prisons anymore. It uses approval. It uses fear of rejection. It uses your desire to belong against you. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Why terrifying? Because if you truly accept who you are, your values, your vision, your perception, you automatically detach from the group. You become sovereign. And sovereignty is the greatest threat to any system built on control. The delusional world doesn't survive by making you a prisoner. It survives by convincing you that you're free, while programming your mind to obey invisible rules. You're told what success means, what happiness should look like, what opinions are acceptable, and which questions are forbidden. And if you dare to question the narrative, even politely, the crowd turns on you, not because they hate you, but because you remind them of the cage they've accepted as home. You see, the system doesn't need to convince you anymore. It just needs to exhaust you, keep you busy, keep you distracted, keep you scrolling, buying, reacting, arguing, anything but thinking. Because awareness requires stillness, and stillness is the enemy of modern life. That's why silence feels so heavy to most people. The moment they're alone with their thoughts, they start to panic, because silence reveals the truth, the emptiness behind all the noise, the truth that their so-called freedom was just a carefully managed illusion. Nietzsche saw this over a century ago. He said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, and that struggle is eternal. You can't escape it. Every age has its orthodoxy, its sacred beliefs that cannot be questioned. And the modern world is no different. We've just replaced religion with ideology, replaced gods with influencers, replaced confession with social media posts. The structure is the same: worship, guilt, conformity, obedience. And here's the truth most people will never admit. Freedom is terrifying, because real freedom means taking responsibility for your own mind. It means no one to blame, no one to follow, no one to hide behind. It means looking at the chaos of the world and realizing no one is coming to save you. That's why people crave control instead. They'd rather live in a system that tells them what to think than face the abyss of uncertainty that comes with freedom. Control offers safety, freedom demands courage, and courage, true courage, is rare. It's not the loud defiance of rebellion for show. It's the quiet endurance of walking your own path when everyone else calls you lost. It's standing by your principles even when it costs you comfort, approval, and belonging. That's why awareness isn't just about seeing the truth. It's about carrying it. And that weight can break you if your soul isn't strong enough. But here's the paradox again. That same weight that isolates you also transforms you. Because every time you refuse to bend to delusion, you grow stronger. Every time you choose honesty over acceptance, you become unbreakable. You start to see that the system only controls those who fear being alone. And once you make peace with solitude, you're free. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Most people have never begun to live. They exist in a hypnotic rhythm of routine, chasing pleasures that never satisfy, running from truths that never stop following them. And when someone truly alive walks by, someone aware, awake, untamed, it scares them. Because that person is a living reminder that freedom was always possible. So they mock you. They call you arrogant, cynical, antisocial. They try to shame you back into their illusion. But deep down, they envy your clarity. Because while they drown in noise, you stand in silence. And that silence is power. Remember this. Every empire of control collapses from within when too many minds wake up. Awareness spreads like light, slowly at first, then suddenly unstoppable. That's why the system fears thinkers more than rebels, philosophers more than soldiers. A soldier can be defeated, a thinker cannot. Because you can cage a body, but not a mind that has tasted truth. When you finally see through the illusion, the first thing you feel isn't joy, it's grief. Because you realize how much of your life was spent chasing shadows. How many conversations were empty? How many choices were never really yours? How many years were lived for approval, not truth? That grief is sacred. Don't run from it. It's the death of your old self, the one who obeyed without knowing why. And just like any death, it's followed by silence. A silence that feels unbearable at first, then strangely peaceful. You start to understand what Jung meant when he said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Awareness takes you down first, into the chaos of your own mind, into the illusions you once worshipped. But once you survive that descent, you rise different. Not happier, not safer, but real. The world will still try to pull you back. It will whisper, "Come on, relax, don't think so much." Life's easier when you go along. And it's true, it is easier. But ease is not the same as peace. Ease is anesthesia. Peace is earned through understanding. The cost of being self-aware is that you will always live slightly apart from the world. You will see the play while others act in it. You'll watch people argue over illusions, destroy each other over borrowed opinions, worship their own cages, and you'll feel both pity and compassion because you once lived there too. But here's the turning point. Awareness doesn't have to make you bitter. It can make you kind. Because once you understand the machinery of delusion, you stop hating the players. You just choose not to play. You stop preaching and start living quietly, deliberately. Your calm becomes a rebellion. Your silence becomes contagious. Freedom begins not when the world changes, but when your relationship to it changes. You stop reacting. You stop needing validation. You stop seeking meaning in things designed to keep you empty. And suddenly, everything slows down. You start hearing life again. The rain, the wind, your own heartbeat. You realize that awareness was never meant to isolate you from life. It was meant to return you to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Freedom is precisely that, the power to choose your estimate, to decide what deserves your energy, what doesn't, what's true and what's noise. And once you claim that right, you can live anywhere, even inside a chaotic society, and remain untouched. That's real rebellion, not loud outrage, not social theatrics, but quiet mastery of yourself. Because a man who governs his own mind cannot be ruled by another. And that's why most people fear freedom. It demands self-governance. It demands responsibility. Control is easy. Someone else sets the boundaries. Someone else takes the blame. Freedom gives you nothing but yourself, and that terrifies the unprepared. But if you endure the loneliness, if you embrace the silence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel light again. Your thoughts become sharper, your presence deeper. You no longer chase meaning, you create it. You no longer seek love from the crowd. You radiate it from within. You no longer wait for the world to make sense. You make sense of the world. That's the final stage of awareness. Transformation, not escape from the delusion, but mastery within it. You see through the system, yet you operate gracefully inside it. You play the game, but you remember it's a game. You use society's noise to strengthen your silence. You let illusions pass through you without leaving scars. And in doing so, you become something the world cannot manipulate. A free mind, hidden in plain sight. Nietzsche called this state amor fati, the love of one's fate. To say yes to everything, the beauty, the suffering, the absurdity, and to still create meaning from it. That's the true victory of the self-aware being. Not detachment from life, but deeper engagement with it on your own terms. So, when people ask you why you walk alone, why you question everything, why you seem distant, smile, because they'll never understand that solitude is not your punishment, it's your kingdom. And when they tell you freedom is dangerous, remind them that slavery is far worse. It just feels safer. You'll lose friends. You'll lose illusions. You'll lose the comfort of certainty. But you'll gain yourself. And that's the only real wealth there is. One day you'll look around and realize that while the world keeps chasing distractions, you found stillness. While others look for meaning in noise, you found it in silence. And while they keep seeking freedom in things, you carry it quietly in your mind. That's the cost of being self-aware in a delusional world. And it's worth every drop of pain. Because once you've paid it, no one, not any system, not any ideology, not any illusion, can ever own you again. So breathe, stand tall, walk your path with open eyes and an unshakable heart. And when the world calls you mad for seeing clearly, remember, every truth teller sounded insane to the blind. Because in the end, freedom isn't found in escaping the world. It's found in seeing it and choosing to stay awake anyway.